Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Is it working now? There we go. Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show with minimal technical difficulties. Sorry about that, everyone. Hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news, and that's brought to you by Computer America. Everyone, hey, sorry about that again. Thank you for tuning into the program. So today, lots to talk about, everything about Apple and what they talked about yesterday. We have this great story that came out recently about the Department of Justice, and if you think they're just sitting around doing nothing, turns out they're selling phones in their spare time, but not just any phones directly to organized crime, and we're going to find out what they did and how they did it. Very interesting story there, and more about MoviePass. If you remember those wild and crazy times where MoviePass was, letting you go to the movie theater. Remember that for like pennies a time, and it made you wonder how the heck were they able to do this? Well, looks like we have some more legal action coming their way, and if you wonder why it's not a thing anymore, hey, this story should answer that. We have that, everything Apple, everything Facebook, everything news and newsworthy, we have it for you right here. So everyone, welcome into the program, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, all the shows, everything you need to know about today's program, you can find at our website at computeramerica.com. If you can't listen to us live on IRN, then you can, of course, listen to us in the podcast. That is the second best way to check us out. Now, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started with computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Okay, Okay, and I think that our first story that we're going to do, there's a couple of updates to some pretty high-profile stuff, and I wanted to kind of cover this. And you know what? Why don't we start out with MoviePass? Because when it came out, there were people that, Sandy Berger, for instance, and many people who, came on the show and otherwise, that, when you look at just the, kind of the logistics of it all, you're like, how the heck does that even work? The whole price of the subscription model when it first started was like $9, and the cost of a movie theater ticket was like $10 for like a matinee or whatever. And so the cost of the subscription model was actually less than that of a movie ticket. And you wonder, well, there must have been some kind of catch, there must have been some kind of some kind of super limited viewing of movies, certain times, whatever, blackout dates, what have you. Well, turns out that no, they delivered mostly on what they promised. But of course, they had to disclose a lot that, on the back end, that they were selling people's viewing habits. They had an app on their phone that you had to scan, and that app, one moment. Okay, there we go. That the app in the background was collecting movement and behavior habits, and they were selling people's data, trying to make up money, through not just through the subscription model, but through a lot of other means. Well, let's see where they're at today. Where today we have this article from Engadget, Mariella Moon. MoviePass settles with FTC over complaints that it blocked subscribers. And they said that the FTC also accused the defunct service of failing to protect user information, failing to protect, certainly, but also, hey, they were more in the business of collecting it, not so much protecting it. So a couple years after MoviePass shut down, its operators have agreed to settle with the FTC over allegations that they blocked subscribers from using the service and didn't adequately secure user data. Makes sense, because again, MoviePass was essentially paying these movie theaters full price, and they were getting this subscription model, which made no sense whatsoever. Now, the commission has revealed that the details of the proposed settlement, under which MoviePass parent company Helios and Matheson Analytics, as well as its principals Mitchell Lowe and Theodore Farnsworth, have agreed to heavy FTC oversight for any future business endeavors, which essentially means you guys are con artists and we're going to have to keep an eye on you. The commission accused MoviePass and its parent company of employing several tactics to prevent subscribers from being able to access the service as advertised. MoviePass was supposed to give users access to one movie per day for a monthly fee, which dropped from $50 to $10. But operators allegedly invalidated subscribers' passwords on purpose to give the company sufficient reason to freeze accounts on the basis of suspicious activity or potential fraud. That's a bit more skeezy than even I was expecting. The fact that they could, just take a large swath of the customer base and say that, oh, your password, wasn't validated and it must have been compromised. You were giving out to someone. Therefore, we're going to revoke your subscription or freeze your account. That's a new level of scummy. The operators also allegedly launched the service ticket verification program to discourage the use of the service. Users apparently encountered all sorts of bugs when verifying their ticket, and failure to verify was penalized with account cancellation. So not only was the ticket verification required, but it was also buggy. And therefore, if you encounter one of those intentional or unintentional, it probably could have just been something as simple as not fixing known bugs, which sounds like what they did. They would cancel the whole account. MoviePass eventually limited users to 3 movies a month in August 2018, but the reports were presumably from users who were blocked before that change was implemented. Really goes to show just how limited this subscription-based model was. If they went from $50 to $10, so that was the first, kind of warning flag. It dropped down dramatically. And then, of course, people could watch one movie a day. If you use this thing to its full potential, let's assume $8 a ticket a day. for 30 days, $240 for each individual person if they had nothing better to do. If they went out every afternoon and saw a movie, that would be an incredible amount of money to lose on each person. And figure they had a couple, hundreds of thousands of customers. This thing must have been hemorrhaging money. And eventually they changed it to something a little bit more reasonable at 3 movies a month. There you go. So with, so they have those tactics that they were using to discourage people and actually cancel people from using the service. The FTC also accused the service of failing to protect personal information. And according to the commission, the stored consumers' personal data is, including financial information and email addresses, is stored in plain text. That's right. Anyone with access to the app and who got permission from the app could then read everything right there in plain text, export it, and everything's stolen. Now, they did not say that it was actually stolen, but still, that is the first thing that you do. That's the number one way to get it stolen. So there you have it. Now, MoviePass and its parent company Helios declared bankruptcy a year and a half ago to completely dissolve the business. As such, users won't be getting any monetary compensation under the settlement. Still, the FTC is probably going to get their cut, and obviously these gentlemen are going to be under heavy scrutiny for anything they do in the future. But let's face it, they've made their millions. They've definitely made a lot of money, and thinking that they're going to get punished, I wouldn't hold my breath. But still, there you go. Okay, and let's see. So with that being said, there's MoviePass, and looks like just the wispy remnants of what the company once was. Still, I found the service to be rather unbelievable, and I don't know. I feel glad to be vindicated, I guess, would be the best way to put it. Okay, so our next story that we're going to do is actually this one, and I had it from another publication, but Motherboard and Vice does amazing long-form articles. And this one seemed worthy of it. This story definitely seemed worthy of that. DOJ charges criminal influencers, quote unquote, who worked for FBI's Honeypot phone company. So, this is obviously another case of the FBI thinking, or the FBI not even thinking, actually being the ones who are working on the dark web and things like that, and working within networks that, let's face it, they want to compromise those networks. It's not just a playground for the for organized crime. No, law enforcement is actively trying to work their way in there, and it looks like the number one way that they were able to get into this one was to actually sell the hardware. So the defendants thought that they worked for Anom, an encrypted phone company marketed to criminals, but the FBI was in control, and now the DOJ is charging them. So I guess I don't even know how you market to criminals. I mean, we're into marketing here with the show. If I had to market to criminals, man, I wouldn't even know how to begin to do that. So on Monday, Motherboard reported that for years the FBI secretly ran an encrypted communication network called Anom, popular among serious organized criminals in order to harvest the content of their communications. The elaborate operation has resulted in hundreds of arrests around the world, and now the Department of Justice is charging people who worked for the fake encrypted phone company, including administrators and influencers who use their position in the underworld to encourage criminals to use the phones. And that is according to a new unsealed court records. So it sounds like they had this, they had the service out there, Anom, and it was a phone service. They had their own hardware. They had their own network. And I'm sure that everything that they did was, end-to-end encryption. Everything is completely secure. There's being a smaller network or even an unheard of network would play right into their narrative, because if you just said, we're Verizon, we're Comcast, we're AT&T, all of those have to comply with court orders. They have to comply with They have to comply with investigations. If you're smaller, and this company is kind of marketing themselves as, we're based in insert third world country here, and we're just not going to serve any kind of records. Everything's going to be completely safe. Don't worry about it. But then everything is actually run by the FBI. You can see how they would, even though they had never heard of this service, they would be ready to jump in on it. It makes perfect sense. So, with that being said, the defendants, some of who are international fugitives, including people in Turkey, Australia, Sweden, the Netherlands, Finland, Spain, Colombia, and Thailand. The Department of Justice is charging them under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, a law that traditionally was used to target mafia bosses. Fun that we have those books on, we have those laws on the books, but which the DOJ has recently used to prosecute encrypted phone companies that deliberately sold devices to criminals. Makes sense if you're organizing crime, or you are enabling organized crime. Makes perfect sense. Anom has generated the defendants millions of dollars in profits by facilitating the criminal activity of transnational criminal organization and protecting these organizations from law enforcement. That's what the indictment reads, with 17 individuals. So, as Motherboard reported, in the wake of closing down another encrypted phone company called Phantom Secure in 2018, a confidential human source who previously sold Phantom phones, and another company called Sky Global, was developing their own encrypted phone product, Anom. So they said that the confidential human source then offered Anom to the FBI to use in investigations. So it sounds like, again, just to summarize that real quick, someone was working on and then closed down a phone company called Phantom Secure. And they were working with, and they were working with another company called Sky Global, who was developing their own product called Anom. So to, I'm sure, lessen some kind of fine or criminal charges or jail time, to lessen that, they then used the reputation of their own company and Sky Global. They use the reputation of being known within these circles as saying, these people are trusted to some extent within these circles. Put out the product, run it, and run it for the criminal organizations, and you get to read everything that they do. So, as criminals left Phantom and later Sky, thousands of them flocked to Anom. But here, the FBI silently attached a master key to Anom's users' communications, allowing the agency and its partners to read messages passing over the network, messages that the criminal users believed were securely encrypted. Because again, if you're going to do this kind of thing, you would want encrypted messages. But, hey, there is end-to-end encryption, and then there is encryption happening en route. And the main difference there is that when it's stored on a server, a company would not have the master key to decrypt them. The service that you're using would not be able to decrypt your messages if it were end-to-end encrypted. Whereas here, it seems like they were just promised to be encrypted, but obviously, if they have the key, then they can decrypt them at will. So those messages included conversations around, here we go, murder, large-scale drug smuggling, and corruption, according to officials speaking in law enforcement press conference this week and court records. Heavy stuff. They said that beyond using those highly incriminating messages for drug importation or other investigations, they're also charging the people who worked for Anom, albeit those who likely did not know Anom was secretly run by the FBI. So they're not just charging those who were using it and trying to smuggle drugs and things like that, but they were also charging those who were, I guess, kind of pushing the service, which is kind of funny. The ones who were actually working for the FBI, because they did not know they were working for the FBI. They simply thought they were working for a company that was selling phones to criminals. And I think that's the part that gets them in trouble. It's not just selling phones, but for the intended use of hiding or, enabling this organized crime to happen. And again, they did not know they worked for the FBI. They thought they only worked for ANOM. Now, the staff included administrators who were able to set up new subscriptions for customers, remove accounts, and remotely wipe the devices, as well as removing the microphone and camera functionality. Some firms in the encrypted phone space can remove data from a device in case it is seized by law enforcement. The indictment says that ANOM staff obstructed law enforcement by carrying out such wipes. So, yeah, they're working with and against law enforcement at the same time. The workers also included influencers because, hey, it wouldn't be social media if you didn't have influencers, which the indictment says were well-known crime figures who wield significant power and influence over other criminal associates. Those influencers have also built a reputation for their knowledge and expertise in the hardened encrypted device field and use that power, knowledge, and expertise to promote, market, and encourage others to use specific hardened encrypted devices. Essentially, if you're going to be a criminal and you want to do criminal things, you're going to look for people who know how to do criminal things. And those who have the reputation, those who can actually, let's face it, influence others, you get to earn a commission. You get, there's just like any other service, just like, any other service that you see a commercial for, same thing. You need to get the word out. You need to get it to, the right people. And yeah, there will be influencers who will take your money and in exchange for promoting a product, even if that product is highly illegal or at least somewhat illegal. Because again, let's face it, at the end of the day, it is still simply a cell phone. So with that being said, distributors provide technical support for customers, send money back up to the parent company, and manage agents who in turn are on the ground meeting and engaging with customers of the phones. These staff all remained anonymous even to one another in order to try and evade law enforcement, the document reads. So, trying to stay anonymous is one thing, but it sounds like they were able to get a number of defendants on here. It's pretty crazy. The purpose of ANOM, or AMON, as the article accidentally typos, that's okay. The purpose of ANOM, beyond being a honeypot for law enforcement and to monitor criminal activity, was to obstruct investigations of drug trafficking and money laundering organizations, and to enrich the workers by taking payments for each ANOM device. The devices cost about $1,700, which per 6-month subscription in Australia, 1,500 euros in Europe, $1,700 in Canadian dollars. So I'm not really up to date on the Canadian conversion to American dollars, but yeah, so nothing. It seems like if you want to be in North America, you had to go through Canada, and it makes perfect sense because obviously the U.S. law enforcement would be. I'm not saying Canada can't do their own investigations. I'm just saying that the U.S. obviously has a much more robust information. Like 3-layer agencies, So obviously the FBI, and the FBI is running this whole thing. So there you go. Ironically, ANOM workers told customers that the network was designed by criminals for criminals, as goes the old adage, and that the company was not subject to U.S. law, including U.S. surveillance law of the Patriot Act, to increase the trust in the ANOM brand as being secure for drug trafficking and money laundering. The defendants are, and they list a number of defendants here, all at the end of the article. You can see there. Not going to try to read all of their names, but they were obviously included in the indictment. But we're going to go ahead and wrap that one up there. I just found it, very fun that the DOJ, the FBI, these guys are able to not just infiltrate and, kind of get in and listen into criminal activity, but to actually run the system and run the network that they're on. It's even organized crime does not mean that they are intelligent. And even if they were intelligent, this is getting in at such a basic level to these criminal networks that, I'm sure that not many, if any of them, have ever had went through computer science degrees to be able to pick through the code and see if they're actually secure. So who the heck knows? Okay, so there's that first article. The second article, since we're talking about organized crime, we can talk a little bit more about organized crime. Bitcoin. You may know the one. It's funny. The price of Bitcoin actually fell a little bit. And if you're wondering why it fell, it's like, oh, well, these things happen. Who the heck knows? Well, Bitcoin in particular fell to $32,000 late Tuesday morning. And what they're blaming it on, oddly enough, is actually catching criminals. Bitcoin's price slipped again on Tuesday amid a brutal sell-off among digital currencies. The reason for the move was unclear. However, it may be related to concerns over security of the cryptocurrency after U.S. officials managed to recover most of the ransom paid to hackers that targeted Colonial Pipeline. So I guess here's the part that can make people a little shaky, and it's that cryptocurrency is used as, and Bitcoin in particular is used as used in ransomware and other things. First of all, because it's valuable. When these things were like $60,000 a piece and you can ask for 5 of them, they're very, very valuable. But the other part is that it was secure. And, that's always been the selling point of Bitcoin in particular, is that, well, Bitcoin, once it's sent to another wallet, you can't really retrieve it. Exchanges cannot just pull it back out of your wallet. If you have a physical wallet, that Bitcoin is there forever. And for all we know, it still is. But this is one of the first times that I've heard that law enforcement were able to identify a criminal network and then actually recover a sent ransom, which is not something that you're supposed to be able to do with cryptocurrency. Once the currency is sent, you can't just pull it back. It's decentralized. There's no agency. You don't call up Bitcoin.com and be like, hey, I want my Bitcoin back. No, it does not work that way. But hey, it seems like they did, and that could, raise some concerns for the security of the cryptocurrency, even though it was used in an unsecure manner. Now, the reason for the move was unclear, obviously, blah, 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 Colonial Pipeline. Court documents said investigators were able to access the password for one of the hackers' Bitcoin wallets. The money was recovered by a recent launched task force in Washington as part of the government's response to a rise in cyber attacks. I'm wondering what the password was. I don't know, Criminal One or something similar. I don't know. Very strange though. They said that obviously this article talks a bit more about the financials, where smaller coins are also tanking as well. And they said that obviously in April 2021, when a lot of people started to focus on cryptocurrency, and we can even pull up, let's see, what is the... I think it's Binance. Binance is the one that a lot of people use for looking at the prices of cryptocurrency. Back in April, Bitcoin had just hit like $60,000. It was accelerating rapidly. A lot of people were starting to be like, oh, cryptocurrency this, cryptocurrency that. What is this? We even put out a show that's like, what is... what is cryptocurrency and why you need to, just in case anyone out there was curious as to what it could be and how it works. We definitely wanted to inform people, but yeah, this is the other side of it, where you see those exponential rises. You see, things like Dogecoin go up, 1,500% in a week. The other side is that these markets are very volatile. They're very sensitive to, to a lot of motion. And you're seeing that, certain coins, Bitcoin in particular, which is like lost like 7 to 10% in a single day. Could you imagine if your bank called you up and said, oh yeah, 10% of your assets just went away because who the heck knows why? It's it's quite scary. And so there you have it. So they said that on Monday, U.S. law enforcement said that they seized $2.3 million in Bitcoin paid to DarkSide, the criminal gang behind the crippling cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline. According to a court document, the FBI were able to access the private key or password for one of the hackers' Bitcoin wallets. Bitcoin has often been the currency of choice for hackers, and it's because it's it can be moved and decrypted. It sounds like even the DarkSide, they've been billed as a new criminal gang, but one with a lot of real world experience and kind of history among its members. It seems like they still somehow made a very rudimentary mistake, which is having your crypto wallet compromised. Now, crypto media outlet Decrypt reported that there were unfounded rumors that the attacker's Bitcoin wallet had been hacked in an unlikely scenario. DarkSide, which reportedly received $90 million in Bitcoin ransom payments before shutting down, operated a so-called ransomware as a service business model where hackers develop and market ransomware tools and sell them to affiliates who then carry out the attacks. Because just like the phones, hey, crime is a business, and services are very much in demand. So there you have it. Now, John Holquist, Vice President of Mandiant Threat Intelligence, called the move a welcome development, saying it has become clear that we need to use several tools to stem off the tide of the serious problem, and even law enforcement agencies need to broaden their approach beyond building cases against criminals who may be beyond the grasp of the law. In addition to the immediate benefits of this approach, a stronger focus on disruption may disincentivize this behavior, which is growing into a vicious cycle. So a stronger focus on disruption may disincentivize this behavior. So yeah, they do need to be more proactive in these hacking cases, because we've seen them grow in severity and the numbers. I really do feel like Equifax was a huge turning point in data protection, data security, and of course the number of organizations that realized that, oh, look at us, we were so short-sighted targeting credit card vendors, or we were skimming credit card numbers or things like that. Not to say that those things aren't happening anymore, but as soon as the first person got $1 million for hacking like a county school system, man, that opened up so many more possibilities. And then, of course, the idea that you have hacking insurance, where you then, where then this insurance company pays your hacking fee. I mean, that's just money on the table waiting for you. So there you have it. I think that's about, and obviously the article goes a bit more into crypto and cryptocurrency, and yeah, it's saying that sentiment behind cryptocurrency in general is kind of wearing off. A lot of people that invested in Bitcoin at $60,000 because they had dreams that it would go up to $600,000 now see it at 30, and a lot of the fervor and a lot of the excitement has definitely fallen off. But yeah, cryptocurrency is still going to be around. It's still going to be a thing. How long will it take to recover? Will it ever recover? Who the heck knows? But hey, it's still going to stick around, so it's worth at least knowing about. And we're definitely going to keep up to taps with it. But still, for the U.S. government to actually be able to recapture that money and return it, that's a big improvement into our recent cybersecurity kind of state as a country, where before we would just have to look at people who were hacked or compromised or in some way stolen from and just say, we're sorry, don't get hacked next time, don't pay the ransom next time. have a backup next time. Now at least we have one in the win column, and that's something. That is definitely an improvement. So there's that story. That was story number 3, I believe. We can go ahead and move on to story number 4. Lots of different ones that we could talk about here. Why don't we go ahead and right in the middle of all this, talk about Apple. And we'll do 2 articles relating to the recent announcements at Apple. Apple recently did their Worldwide Developer Conference, which was obviously strictly online. But these are conferences, if you're not familiar with them, where, much like the name would imply, the Worldwide, Developer Conference. So these are features that Apple is putting forward that, developers, app developers, that people who are going to be using their phone for, a lot of different things, what they can look forward to. This is not the crazy hardware reveal that Apple does during their spring event or things like that. No, this is something that they use for, iOS and iPadOS 15 in particular to get people excited to develop for the iPhone and what is possible. So, as expected, Apple revealed numerous details about its upcoming iOS 15 operating systems for iPhones and iPads today. If you don't recall, we're currently on Apple iOS 14.5, I believe. It was is our current iteration. But still, while I did not actually catch the actual keynote, you can see here that there's a nice little write-up here, which we'll include in the show notes. But still, they say that obviously FaceTime is unsurprisingly getting new features to make conversation more natural. A new spatial audio feature will make it sound like people are in the same room. Caller's voice will come from the same direction as their thumbnail. So I guess that means that if someone's over on the left and they speak, it'll come from the left side of your phone. Machine learning powered voice isolation will block out background noise, while a wide spectrum mode will pick up everything in the room, which will be good for obviously interviews or multiple people talking. Those digital augments that happen with a microphone, they're great and all, but sometimes, hey, you just want the actual noise of the room. So there you go. Now, with that being said, Grid View lets you view FaceTime calls just like Zoom. So Apple taking a page out of Zoom. Portrait mode lets you blur out your background. Just like camera mode, you can also generate a link for a FaceTime call, making it work again, just like joining a Zoom. FaceTime is even coming to Android, sort of, via browser. I never thought I'd see the day. I always thought that FaceTime and iMessage and things like that were always going to be Apple exclusive, but it looks like they're opening it up just a little bit. iMessage is getting some upgrades as well, saying that they're getting a collage view for multiple photos. Any articles shared over Apple News will show a tag identifying who shared it, allowing you to quickly jump into a conversation with them over iMessage. So if someone shares an article with you, tap the button and you can start texting them about that article indeed. They mentioned a new camera mode called Live Text will let you copy and paste text from real life. One of the demos involved taking a picture of a handwritten whiteboard and just copying and pasting the text through the magic of machine learning. The feature works in several languages and can even do searches based on images. Identifying dog breeds, it was one example used. Although I have to say that that one, it sounds cool, but I'm really curious how obviously, being able to look on a whiteboard and, be able to copy and paste the text. If you're in a college setting, that's perfect. But some whiteboards, let's face it, no one's handwriting is perfect. And I guess taking a picture of the whiteboard is pretty good. I'm wondering how it works with numbers and math and equations and things like that, because that's really where whiteboards are used, at least in my personal experience. It's definitely used in math more often than not. So anyways, Apple Maps. I did not even know that was still a service. Apple Maps is now projected on a 3D globe and is getting new details like 3D map elevation, nighttime lighting, and more. New driving map details show crosswalks, bike lanes, 3D overlapping highways and bridges. Transit lets you pin your favorite route to the top of the UI. A 3D augmented reality camera view will let you quickly orient yourself without relying on the unreliable compass. So there you go. Now, they also mentioned the Apple Wallet real quick. Apple is adding keys for your car, house, and hotel rooms. The company is also pushing for in-app government ID cards, which you'll be able to pull out of your phone when you would normally show a driver's license. That one's been really hard to do, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but for the other places that we've seen, oddly enough, when we did the segment about security and election security, when it came to kind of why can't you vote online, services that let you have government credentials on your phone, they're good, but they are still prone to being compromised and faked in other ways. So being able to authenticate your phone is actually very, very difficult. And yeah, so it's not the easiest thing in the world. I don't know how Apple's going to do it. I'm sure that if anyone can do it, it's going to be a collaboration between Apple, Google, Microsoft, and a lot of these other tech giants. But yeah, I don't think that the world is quite ready for electronic government IDs. But it's a start. It's definitely a start. Now, with that being said, so that's all the iOS stuff too. iPad OS, which is of course a brand new operating system for iPads. They mentioned that you can mix in widgets with your app icons instead of siloing them into an individual page. The iPad also gets bigger, more content-rich widgets. Multitasking has been revamped in iPad OS with buttons at the top of the screen to move apps into split screen. Apps can be swiped down out of the split screen view and replaced with a different app. A new area called the shelf gives you easy to access all open windows of an app. So there you go. Notes is getting a system-wide upgrade called Quick Notes. Swiping from the corner of the screen will make a pop-up note appear or app appear, and you can quickly jot something down. Translate is getting a similar system-wide upgrade, and you can now translate apps. So, hey, it's pretty cool. Definitely a lot of common sense upgrades that Apple seems to be pushing here. Swift Playground is like portable Xcode for iPad, allowing you to make Swift UI apps on the iPad. Since you're doing this on iOS, code you write is immediately reflected in the preview. So Swift Playground is a portable Xcode for iPad. Swift, as I recall, was the language that you use to develop Apple apps with. So being able to port that from iOS to iPadOS, pretty obvious. They have a new privacy dashboard, which will give you reports on apps showing which ones access which permissions in the past 7 days. Mail will also block tracking pixels on your IP address. Siri voice commands won't leave the device anymore thanks to on-device voice recognition. Siri is a lot faster too, and those two are obviously going to be very very closely related, because if they can host Siri on the device itself instead of having to ping back to the Apple servers, get a request, that's, to you, it seems like, there's a hesitation there, but to a computer, that's an eternity waiting for the server to process your voice, work it into text, be able to, search the result for whatever text you ask it, and then be able to execute that code. That's what those, 1 to 2 second pauses are. It's very cool that they're able to get that on the phone itself. Apple also announced the premium iCloud tier Plus, with additional privacy features, and we'll look at obviously the details as soon as we can. Health has new features, including mobility, which has device motion sensors, labs, which have detailed lab data explanations and expected ranges, and trends. You'll be able to share your Apple Health data with your doctor. If it's your job to take care of a child or an aging parent, you can be granted access to their health data as well, so you can keep an eye on their health. Of course, the data is encrypted and there are tons of sharing controls for your health data. So all that being said, the beta starts today with a full consumer release expected in the fall. Again, that was mainly about iOS and iPad OS 15 coming here soon in the fall. There's that one, and then the other Apple story that we have that we were going to touch on is Apple announces Mac OS Monterey. And the next Mac desktop operating system. So I'm sure, much like most of the other Mac OSs out there, named after a mountain range. This one, Monterey. Now, obviously, this was again announced at the Worldwide Developer Conference 2021. They outlined the company's plans for Mac OS Monterey, the latest major software release for the Mac family of computers. The name follows Apple's California landmark-based naming for releases dating back to OS X's Mavericks in 2013. This one introduces a new feature called Universal Control, which allows users to share control of Mac and iPad devices with a single mouse and keyboard. Pretty cool. So essentially these, not even just separate monitors, but everything just kind of works with one mouse and keyboard. I actually like that a lot. And they had the Apple Senior Vice President of Software demonstrate the ability to simply set an iPad near a Mac, move the cursor of the latter towards the former, and have the iPad automatically recognize it. This means that users can directly drag and drop files between devices. For instance, Apple demonstrated the feature with an iMac, MacBook, and iPad. That is one of the best ways that I've ever heard of sharing these kinds of these files between computers. I honestly wish things work like that, super simply, because having a phone, and even though it can be super close to your computer, you can whack your computer with your phone as much as you want. Getting a photo from one to the other is not that easy, and it should be a lot simpler in today's day and age. So, still. They also mentioned with this operating system update, we'll have the possibility to AirPlay video, audio, documents, and other items from an iPad or iPhone directly to a Mac. So AirPlay working as intended, but making it much more intuitive and simple. Perfect. The update brings the shortcuts feature first seen on iPhones and iPads, allowing users to access if this, then that style automated tasks and workflows on the Mac. Apple says that existing Automator app will continue to be supported and that users will be able to import existing Automator workflows into shortcuts. Think about that like when you get home, and you've been taking pictures throughout the day, you can say that, you want to AirPlay photos to your computer and, you want to automatically upload your phone photos to your computer. You can have that automatically happen every single day as soon as you get home. It's not hard to do, and looks like they just made it all the more simple. Now, Safari will receive something of a makeover with Monterey, bringing in a thinner and visually cleaner toolbar alongside more compact tabs. Active tab bars now house the traditional URL and search field, and tabs can now be grouped together and accessed through Safari's sidebar. These tab groups can then be accessed and updated across Macs, iPhones, and iPads. And as we said before, all this should come out in the fall of this year. A full release will be expected in the fall. Now, the following devices can do this. And by the way, I actually heard that the iOS and the iOS update actually extends all the way back to the iPhone 6S. So, that thing came out, what is that, like 6 generations ago now? It's, definitely more backwards compatibility than we've seen from Apple in the past. Before they only updated to like 3 or 4 generations. Now they're up to like 5 or 6 generations. So definitely good to see. Anyways, this new Mac OS version is going to come to MacBook Airs 2015 and later, MacBook Pro, 2015 and later, MacBook 2016 and later, 2015 iMac, 2014 Mac Mini, 2017 iMac Pro, and 2013 Mac Pro. So there you go. So iMac Pro and Mac Pro 2017 and 2013 respectively. Still a lot of hardware to update, and it seems very compatible. Great to hear. And it seems like a lot of again, common sense upgrades to nothing too revolutionary. It's not like they're switching from Rosetta or eliminating a piece of the hardware, just making everything work better together. And hey, I think that's the way that technology should go in general. Now, let's see. So there's that one. Why don't we go ahead and, with all that Apple news, we can go ahead and talk about Apple a little bit. And these two should be a pretty quick update, but they're actually with recent lawsuits that Apple has been dealing with. The first one is that Apple pays millions in iPhone repair explicit photo case. We've seen law enforcement do it. We've seen computer technicians do it. Turns out that whenever you give someone access to a phone, they will, they're nosy. They're human. And even you can promise, oh no, we hold our technicians to the highest standard. We would never let them browse your photos or your text messages. Turns out, hey, humans are human, and you can't look over their shoulder 24/7, and they're going to do stuff. Well, back in 2016, Apple was made aware and took immediate action, so they claim, that when someone set in their phone for repair, the contractor accessed and then downloaded explicit photos of the lady who owned the phone. They said that Apple reportedly investigated and fired the two technicians involved, but it also reportedly demanded confidentiality, and its role in the case was only identified during a legal fight between Pegatron and its insurers over the compensation it paid to Apple. In 2019, a similar case where an Apple Store employee allegedly texted himself an intimate photo of a woman taken from her phone after she took the device to be repaired. Apple immediately launched the investigation and said that the individual was no longer at the company. Yeah, I'm surprised that he's not, at the bottom of the ocean with some new concrete shoes. I'm sure Apple hates it when that kind of stuff happens. Now, with that being said, the incident will add weight to the growing right to repair movement, which argues that devices such as iPhones should not be locked into official repair shops. Some 20 states have proposed right to repair legislation. I'm sure that the reason that they're bringing up right to repair is that, we're doing it for security's sake. And then, of course, you can point to these incidents and go, even Apple can't ensure that its own technicians won't violate your privacy or, kind of your phone's right to not be searched. So, if they're worried about third parties doing that, doesn't really matter because Apple can't even ensure it when they have it heavily locked down. So, still, they say that Apple has paid multi-million-dollar settlement to a woman, and this happened like 5 years ago, and she finally got her settlement, which is a lot of money. Yep, there you go. Apple was not named in the lawsuit, but its involvement came to light in an unrelated case. So I guess that's what we know. The settlement happened a little bit ago, but again, it was the legal fight between Pegatron and its insurers over what happened with Apple and the payout there. So yeah, there you have it. It's really horrible that it happened to that lady. Clearly, if you send your phone in to be repaired, or you have to part with your phone, you expect that your data be handled with care and respect. But like I said, humans are humans, and there's no ethics test that goes into becoming a phone repair technician. And it only took one person to cost the company millions of dollars. It's horrible that it happened, but also very not surprising. There you have it. Okay, so there's that story. Let's go ahead and talk about this other one real quick. Yeah, we have time. About Apple. And, it's this doublespeak that these companies kind of do, where they'll say that, privacy is important, privacy is supreme, we think that customer data is their data, blah, blah, blah. But then to do business in more oppressive parts of the world, like, I get it, it's business, and that's what the local agencies kind of expect. But as an American corporation, we can also expect, expect more from these companies to operate with a set core values. And if they are talking to us, to our faces, saying that we won't reveal data, we won't unlock phones for the U.S. government, we won't do this, we won't do that. But then on the other side, they'll go, oh, by the way, the new encrypted browsing feature won't be available in China, Saudi Arabia, and more, as if to say that we won't give those our customers, but still customers living in those countries, the same tools that we give everyone else because the government doesn't like it. It's hard to take them seriously at both. So let's find out more about this. Apple announced a handful of privacy-focused updates at its annual software developer conference on Monday. One called Private Relay particularly piques the interest of Chinese users living under the censorship system. For it encrypts all browsing history so nobody can track or intercept the data. And as someone else explains at TechCrunch, when Private Relay is turned on, nobody can track your browser history, not your internet service provider, anyone standing in the middle of your request between your device and the server you're requesting information from. You'll have to wait a bit to learn more how it works exactly. But I think that the obvious one there is that it uses a VPN, a virtual private network. Apple told Reuters that Private Relay won't be available in China, Belarus, Colombia, Egypt, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkmenistan, Uganda, and the Philippines. So all these countries have requested that Apple not give their customers the right to encrypt their data. Virtual private networks, or VPNs, are popular tools for users in China to bypass the Great Firewall censorship, but VPNs don't necessarily protect user privacy because they simply funnel all the traffic through VPN provider servers instead of users' internet providers. So users are essentially entrusting VPN firms with protecting their identity. Makes sense because obviously VPNs work by, again, funneling people through servers that they own. But if, let's say, insert VPN provider here has a deal with the Chinese government to hand over connection logs or things like that, we've seen it in the past where they say, oh, we don't track any of that kind of thing. But it turns out that VPNs, especially the less reputable ones, will track users, where they're connecting to, where they're connecting from, history. They'll actually insert ads where other people's ads would have been. So they're actually making money that way as well by replacing ads on legitimate networks. You have to look for very reputable and good VPNs if you're going to trust it with them, because it's only as good as the service provider that you're paying for it from. And again, VPNs really should be paid for. The free ones are absolutely crap. So there you go. Private Relay, on the other hand, doesn't even allow Apple to see one's browsing activity. In an interview with Fast Company, Apple's Senior Vice President of Software explained why the new feature may be superior to VPNs, saying that we hope users believe in Apple as a trustworthy intermediary, but we didn't even want you to have to trust us because we don't have this ability to simultaneously source your IP and the destination we're going to. And that's unlike VPNs, and so we want to provide many of the benefits that people are seeking. In the past, they've decided to use a VPN, but not force the difficulty and conceivably perilous privacy trade-off in terms of trusting it with a single intermediary. And again, his point there is that with a VPN service, the VPN is on your system. It says, Ben wants to go to google.com. So it knows that you are the customer, and it knows where you're going, and it encrypts everything it really encrypts everything in between so that no server can kind of ping you from one to the other. It can't really track. Your ISP can't really see where you're going because, again, you're going through these trusted servers that your VPN runs, but still your VPN in particular knows who you are and where you're going. By and large, those can be trusted. Many of them can't, but a lot of them can. Apple is saying that, hey, you don't even have to give us that trust. You don't have to trust Apple because not even Apple knows once private relay is turned on where anything is going or coming from. They mentioned that private relay will. It's unclear whether private relay will simply be excluded from system upgrades in China, or if it will be restricted, or it will be blocked by internet providers in those regions. It also remains to see. It remains to be seen whether these features will be available in Hong Kong, one that has increased in online censorship in the past year. Hong Kong is this whole issue that really exploded in this past year or two with China and that whole thing. That, we don't really get into geopolitics here. And I'm glad, because Hong Kong is a mess. So there you go. Like all Western tech firms operating in China, Apple is trapped between antagonizing Beijing and flouting the values it espouses at home, which is what I was saying. Apple has a history of caving into Beijing's censorship, from migrating all user data in China to state-run cloud center, cracking down on independent VPN apps, and limiting free speech in Chinese podcasts, to removing RSS feed readers from the China App Store. Like, I get it. China is a huge market. There's a lot of money to be made there. If the company hopes to continue to grow, they need to be in a market that uses smartphones, uses them a lot, and there's a billion users. A market that is as big as the United States. It needs to be there and it needs to grow. At the same time, though, when you have to compromise on those values, it brings, again, this question of values versus money. Is it all about money? Is any of it about values? And yeah, this is going to be one of those wait and see things. So everyone, thank you for tuning into the program. I have some very sudden news, which is we're going on vacation here starting tomorrow, and we'll be back next Wednesday, everyone. So mark your calendars. Next Wednesday, we will have another Computer America show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have some best of Computer America episodes for you. Everyone, stay safe. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.